Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
Heard this gentleman, Herbert Abrams, before. He's an author, Life's Many Curves, and I was talking to him this morning, and I've had some interesting things happening in my life in the last week or so, and I kept thinking about the title of Life's Many Curves. And we all live through life's many curves, but you certainly did.
Yes.
I wanted to go back before we talk about something you want to talk about. How were you as a young man, as a boy? What was your life as a boy?
As a boy?
Yes, as a boy. When you
Very
were
undisciplined.
undisciplined?
I was a bad boy. I really was. But my brother had a lot to do with that. He was an older brother, 5 years older. He got me into a life of crime. Nothing really serious.
No, I understand. So you got into trouble a lot.
I got into trouble. Yes, I did. Not a whole lot, but one time I had got caught doing something. In fact, I didn't get caught. My fellow students squealed on me and said that I was stealing some things. So I admitted it. Yeah. And I was put on probation for like 12 or 13 weeks. And that was my crime. That was after it, that right? I was straight.
How did your parents handle that? Because you're so cute now. You must have been a very cute little kid, and you got away with murder. I can see that.
I don't know if that's the case. I guess I did. I guess I might have.
Well, you were the little baby. You were the baby if he was the older brother, right?
Yeah, I was true. That's true.
But so you lived a life of I get introspective. You've looked at a lot of things, and now as you've matured. And you wrote this book. That was a very important thing for you to write this book, isn't it?
Yes, it was.
Because, you were big time in the service, and we've talked about that and what you've been done. But you also had a personal life, which was very interesting. Why don't you share? And the reason I think it's important to talk about some of this, because it's not so pleasant, but there are people who are listening who are probably going to say, oh, I had the same thing happen, right? That's why people talk.
That's true.
So tell us where you want to begin with this.
Well, I had the first marriage, which was 18 years, and my wife who had emotional problems, mental. And after psychiatry and after the money ran out, the doctor suddenly said, oh, you're okay now, you're cured, because there's no more money. But she went off the deep end, and she went into religion, and it was become extreme religion, into a cult, and all that stuff. So after 18 years, finally I was able to divorce her.
Where did you live at this time?
Here in Miami.
We have some people watching already.
Okay.
In Miami. So
in Miami? Yeah, in Westchester area. And I met a woman.
Well, you were very attractive. How long was it that you were a single guy? I get a lot of women were after you. So
single? Oh my goodness! No.
No, you were divorced and now you're
1
single.
Week.
1 week.
No, really, because I had. Listen, in my book I talk about, and I'm being very honest. I had an affair, and the reason the affair was because we met a woman through the church that was married to a abusive to my children. She was abusive to me, physically abusive and emotional. And I just had no way out. I didn't feel any way I could get out of the situation I was in. So it turns out that we were both in a desperate situation, and we sort of clumped together.
Of course.
And it was just sort of a natural thing. So
how old were you at that time?
At that time, I was in my 30s.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is back in 1970. My divorce was in 71. And that's at the same time when all the kids are getting into drugs and everything else happening. So it wasn't a pleasant time. About the...
what was she like, though? Tell me what...
I was married to her 37 years, my second wife.
Right.
The first one 18, this one's 37.
Wow.
Now, to be honest, it wouldn't have lasted that long. Except here's what happened. She was a woman that was easy. Deceit to her was nothing. It was something like casual. If she tells a lie, it's easier to tell a lie and say, I can't do this today because I'm going to be doing something else, and lie about it so she doesn't have to do it. And lying to her was easy. Well, that's another reason why we had the affair. It also was easy for her to lie about that. But that came into the marriage later on. For the first 27 years, we had a good marriage. She got me through with the kids. We went through the drug programs with the kids. She did everything positive. We ran a business together. Really good things happened. But something else happened after 27 years. 1998, I think it was more of a nervous breakdown. I give her credit in that respect. I say it had to be a nervous breakdown because she took out all kinds of credit cards in her name, took all my credit cards, the ones that we had in both our names, ran them up to the limit. We were $100,000 in debt. So
excuse me, how did you make the payments? She made the payments?
No, she was making them as far as she can, and then it caught up.
Oh.
Of course it caught up. And when I found out about it, I was devastated. Yeah. You know, cheating on your husband is one thing, one way, but when it comes to money like that, that's a real betrayal too. And I was very betrayed. So as a result of that, and my love went out of the marriage. It really did. It killed me, that betrayal. However, the next year or so, I was trying to recover everything. I did. I put her into bankruptcy. The lawyer wanted me to go bankrupt, and I said no. I just couldn't do it. My pride wouldn't let me do it.
I'll make the payments somehow.
Right, so I took another mortgage on the house, and I paid that off eventually. And as a result, I, cleared my name and everything.
But you stayed with her.
But what happened? Well, I was, I stayed with her. But then what happened is she got sick. She abused Tylenol. And really, because she's always had pains, headaches, and all kinds of things. As a result, she lost her liver. Her liver went bad. And one day I was taken to the doctor, and her whole face was yellow, and her eyes were yellow, and that was it. She was jaundiced.
Oh my gosh.
So 2000, she had a liver transplant.
A liver transplant?
Yes.
That's pretty serious.
It was. And as a result of that, normally, you go to have a liver transplant, you go there weekly after that, and they take care of you, and they give you medications, tons of medication, to keep from rejecting the liver. What happened, though, was that they were so anxious to get her out of the hospital that even though I pointed out that she was infected in her drain, where they were draining it, they let her out of the hospital. The infection went down into her hip, and she suffered terribly. And weeks later, I finally got into another orthopedic doctor, and they had to take out the hip, but they couldn't replace it because once the infection's in there, they can't put another hip in until that infection is completely healed. So she was almost 9 months in rehab without a hip.
How can you be? So what happens? If you don't have a hip, I can't even picture it.
I
what
know
happens?
that. And then they were required to put her through therapy, even though without a hip, because Medicare would not pay for it unless that she was making progress. So they had to show that she was making some kind of progress when they were doing the rehab.
So was she in a wheelchair then? She couldn't walk?
She couldn't walk. She was in a wheelchair and everything. And they had to take a big lift to get her out of the bed even. Oh, it's terrible. Horrible. So anyway, she finally got a new hip after 9 months. But she never really recovered. That's unfortunate. So she was an invalid for the next 9 years.
And you were with her, though?
8 years or so. And yes, I stayed with her for
that. And you took care of her as much as you could?
I did. I had to. I was still working part-time, teaching.
Yes.
And I had a lady, a very nice lady, who came in and took care of her while I was at work. And I'd come home afternoon at 1 o'clock or so, because I was only part-time. And then I would take over for the day and the evening.
Let me ask you, how was her personality with all this? Did she become, was she nice through all this, or was she?
Well, you know, you talk to my brother, my late brother, and my relatives,
Yeah.
and they all realized, I knew at the time, that she was taking advantage of me. She could have done more things for herself than she did.
You have so many people listening and watching you. It's wonderful. Ben Starling, a lot of people, really nice people.
Well, this was an interesting thing. I mean, really, you know, I always wanted to do the right thing. I'm just that kind of a person. I can't leave a person, you know,
Right.
off like that. I can't just walk away from somebody. And so I stuck it out. And finally, in 2008, late 2008, she passed away. Complications from the surgery.
Well, you know, I have to just compliment you for what you've done. It must have been, you know, you did it because you put one foot in front of the other, just like when you were in the service. You did what was expected of you because that's where your heart is. I want everyone to know I'm talking with Herbert J. Abrams, and he wrote the book called Life's Many Curves, and you can see why it's a perfect name. It's a wonderful book. He went in as a soldier. He got into photography. He's a very, very sweet man, and he usually brings his wife. Right now, his wife fell and broke her shoulder, I guess,
No,
her
her
arm.
elbow.
Her elbow. Oh, my goodness, her elbow, right. But it's like if you break your elbow, you still can't move it around, right?
Right.
And you just had, of course, a valve replacement.
Aorta valve replacement.
Aorta valve
and
replacement.
Pacemaker. Yeah, right.
He looks good. You would never know he's had a problem. But that's why I just want everyone to know who you are and why you were talking. So now she dies, and now you're alone. And how old are you at this point?
Oh, my goodness. You're going to make me
You're
think.
in your 70s.
Well, it's been 10 years, around 10 years ago. So I'm at 85. I'm around 75.
Right, 75, and now
Right.
you're free again, but you've got marks on you in a sense. You've really had a lot to deal with. And so I'm sure because you are attractive, you are smart, you're kind, there must have still been women looking at you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I have to admit that.
Of course. I can
However,
tell you right
I
now.
wasn't really interested. What I wanted, and I went on the internet because I wanted somebody as a companion to go to the theater with or maybe travel with.
Right.
So I met my present wife on the internet.
And she's such a doll. She isn't here today, but she is a doll. What did you go on Match? What did you go on?
I can't remember which
You
one.
went on...
because I signed up for a few of them. And I don't remember which one we actually...
And you just looked at what people look like or the profiles? What did you...
No, you look at the profile, of course. And her picture wasn't that great, really, but I could talk to her on the phone. And she had this accent because she's from Hungary originally. And something about her interested in me. I don't know why. I said that my late wife and her late husband put us together.
That's funny. So she's living down in your area, and you...
She was living in Aventura, and I was way down south in South Dade, in Westchester area.
Yeah, so you had to drive all the way up in that traffic.
Yeah, yes.
Oh, my God.
And where I was teaching was halfway in between. And so when we started going together, I actually stayed overnight on the weekends. And we lived in Sin for a while. So,
okay, Sin. By this time, that's right. By this time, it's not Sin anymore. But okay.
Yeah.
So, but you knew. How did you know when you first met her? You knew that she was someone that had the kinds of characteristics you wanted.
The first time we met was at the mall. We went to the Cheesecake Factory. I met her there. We were supposed to have coffee, but I'm not like that. Every time I go out with somebody, I buy them dinner. So I bought her dinner. And she only bought a sandwich and soup. Very reasonable. It was very nice. And unlike a woman I had before that who went to the most expensive restaurant, the most expensive food.
That's terrible.
Yes. But what happened was after dinner, we decided to walk in the mall. We were 4 hours in the mall talking.
Herbert.
Walking and talking.
Oh.
We ended up holding hands while we were
Oh,
walking.
my goodness.
I mean, it just like we hit it right off.
Oh,
It was a perfect
what a
match.
lucky thing that was.
That's right.
And it was the only person that you, when you were looking for people on this internet,
I did.
she's the only one that you went out with?
No, I went out with about 4 different women.
Oh, you did? You tried it?
Yeah, oh yeah. There was one nice lady I was interested in, but that didn't work. I didn't feel like that was the one. But when I met Eva, that was it.
And so this has brought you some of the happiness that you were yearning for in the last 10, 20 years, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And so she's quite a companion, it sounds like.
Oh, yes.
She takes care of, we have a lot of people listening to you, and there keeps popping up more people. Oh, my God. It's just great. Well, it's a good story because everybody has something. It's not exact, but they all have suffered with, whether it's been, a parent or it's been a loved one or a child.
Right.
And but you have an attitude. Is this an attitude that you've had to learn how to have, or was this natural for you? Of just being, what do you think?
No, you learn everything as you go. I mean, you grow. It's a matter of growth, it really. Starting out as a young man, very naive young man, I didn't know what life is about at all. The Army made a man out of me in that respect. I started out too early getting married with my first wife, too young, wasn't prepared. And with her mental condition, even though I was warned by my mother and my aunt, don't marry her.
All right, the mother said the family always thinks they know best, right?
They knew that she was sick, that there was something wrong with her, and I couldn't recognize it.
But your second wife now, she really was. She was good for a long time.
Yes, she was.
And what do you think really happened there? Well, all of a sudden she just decided to go off the deep end, or you think that you call it a mental breakdown?
She always had, because her mother, if you knew, her mother, whose name was Virginia, and my wife's name was Virginia. We called her June, but it was Virginia. Was the worst, one of the worst mothers you could have.
Oh.
So this is where she learned deceit. The woman, her husband was a merchant marine. He would be gone for many months at a time. So she'd have a boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Turned out that the boyfriend that she had that time, and June, I think, or Virginia was about 14, 15, I don't remember. But either way, when the husband came home on leave, she would take the boyfriend along, and make the daughter hold his hand and act like it's his.
Oh, I can't believe this.
Oh,
this
it's terrible.
Is really terrible.
Terrible. And then he ended up, in the end, he actually raped her. Raped my wife at the time.
Yeah.
So she had a very bad upbringing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But how did you tell me how you met her?
At church.
Well, that's what you said, at church.
We went to a church. Yeah, my wife got involved in churches. And
but you went to the church, and she
I
was
did too, and I did. I was, keeping our marriage going and everything. But once she got into the cult, that was it. That was the end of it. But before that, we had some good experiences, and we met this woman, Virginia, or June, through the church, and we became friends with the husband.
Sure.
So
let me ask you then, as a man who's seen it all, kind of,
I've seen a lot.
Well,
yes.
You've seen a lot. So there are, I'm sure, women listening, or maybe the other men are listening. So what were you looking for in a woman this third time?
Oh, the third time?
Yeah.
Companion. Nothing more than companion.
And what
I
does
didn't want
companion mean?
I mean, we could travel, go to theater. In fact, I did with one of the ladies, and we took her to Les Miserables. I took her there. Just as somebody you don't want to go out alone all the time.
No, right.
So that's what I was looking for. But eventually what came about is we were living together with my third wife. We were living together, and it came to a point I said, what am I going to tell the children? What do I call you? my girlfriend, my fiance, my live-in. You know. So I said, look, well, I told her at that time I thought we should get married. She was hesitant because of the complications, financial.
Well, talk about her life. And was she married before?
Oh, yes. She was widowed. Her husband died of cancer.
So she had one husband and he died?
Yeah, they were married 57 years.
Oh, my. And she had children?
No.
No children?
No. So my family became her family. And they all love her. She loves them. Ava was financially much more secure than I was. I wasn't poor. I mean, I had all my bills paid. My house was paid. My car was paid. I had money in the bank. I had, a lot of money. I had money.
Right.
But compared to my present wife, she had a lot more than I had. Mm-hmm. As a result, she ended up putting my children through school, college.
Your third wife now?
Yeah, she put them through college. She
Are
put
you
my
kidding?
grandson went. She put him through law school.
Oh, wow! You never knew when you first met her that you were going to have this kind of a woman.
Wonderful woman, and then even then she put everything in my name with hers.
I have goosebumps listening to you. What a beautiful story. There are a lot of people that feel like you. They want a companion, but they're afraid to get online. So, you need to share that with you, because look just what's happened. My guest, I'll just tell you again, is Herbert J. Abrams, and he wrote this book, Life's Many Curves, and we're having a very interesting discussion. But for people listening, what should you do to put your name, your profile? What are you looking for? I mean, you have to put your age, you have to put your picture.
And your interests.
And your interests.
Things that are interesting to you. What do you like to do? What kind of films you like? What kind of music you like? And it turns out that she and I both love music. We love plays. We love movies. We have so much in common.
Right. And she wasn't afraid of all the things that you had to live with ahead of time, and she didn't. It didn't upset her. She just no. She understood.
Yeah.
And when you said she has a Hungarian accent, tell me about her life. Did she come from Hungary and she immigrated here?
Yeah, if you remember right from the last conversation we had,
yes.
She at the age of 14 or 15, she moved to Israel by herself.
I do remember that,
because that was during when the Russians came in, and she went to Israel and became part of the military, what they called the Palmach. They trained her as a soldier, like a Green Beret, that type of soldier.
Whoa!
As a teenager.
Yeah.
So when she was 18, and that's when the statehood of Israel, had become a state, and there was a war. She was involved in that, and she got captured and taken as prisoner, taken to Israel, taken to Jordan.
Yes, I do remember that story now, and she carries a lot of history. She's a very brave woman, isn't she?
Yes, she was, yeah. But as a result, she has PTSD from it. And I've been trying to get all the information from her to write her book.
Oh, right. Wouldn't that be beautiful?
It is, but we've got so far, and then we get into the part where it's really
it's painful.
And then we stop. And to get her back into it, because it's very depressing to her.
Yeah, so maybe it's not the best thing to do. Why make her relive something?
I know. I don't want her to do that.
No, I don't think you should.
I always thought of it as being cathartic.
No, but apparently it's not.
But to her, it's difficult.
Yeah, so then you don't... I interview a lot of Holocaust victims here.
Right.
They've written books. Some of them are really okay with it, but then there are some, they can hardly... They'll talk to me on the phone, or they'll have their wife talk to me. They can't go over it.
No.
And so there's different people are affected so differently.
You're right.
And so that's what you have with her. But boy, you are one good guy. I'll say that for you. And I'm so glad you found her, and that the two of you are so happy. And so she's happy. My goodness, to have found someone like you. What a lovely thing. And so your book is great. Now maybe you're going to write another book. We've talked about that.
I want to write her book. I really do.
I know you do, but you may not be
no,
able
if
to.
I don't do that, I'll write another book about something else.
Yeah,
somebody else.
right. You know, maybe you can write about her up until some of the problems. Just because it sounds like she was a very courageous woman.
I know. I'm accumulating.
Do it that way.
I am accumulating a lot of information.
That could be very interesting. And the fact that there's just so much you just can't talk about, but so maybe that's how you do it.
Right.
What do you think?
That's very possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a lot of notes.
Good. And that she would be okay with all the story that she came from Hungary and went to Israel and all that.
Oh yeah.
That's very beautiful.
Well, I did a short film about it. Remember?
Yes.
I mentioned that to you.
Yes.
On YouTube, you find it. Or if you go Google my name, Google her name.
Oh, let's do that. Let me tell everybody. So if you go to YouTube, go to Herbert J. Abrams, and you can look up, and your wife's name again is Eva.
Her name is Eva.
Eva.
Ezrovics. Ezrovics. Ezrovics.
Okay, but if you went to yours, wouldn't she be right
Well,
there
the film
too?
would show up.
Yeah.
The film
Let's
would
make
be there.
sure the film.
Yeah. It's a short film.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Well, you know, Herbert, every time I meet with you, I learn something new. But I'm so glad you wanted to do this, and I really hope that the valve replacement and everything you're going through gets up, and I hope that Eva's arm now will heal, and I'm
Right.
sure it will, because the love is what's the cement. You know that.
That's right.
And that's going to make a big difference in your life.
That's right.
And I'm so happy that you took the time to come up here. I know you drove all the way up from Aventura, and
It's my pleasure.
yeah, and it's wonderful. And please give her my very best, and I know our paths will, come again. So everybody, I'm glad you were watching on Facebook. We had a lot of people. It was just amazing how many people were watching you.
Really?
So thank you, and I hope you have a very happy New Year.
I will.
And that she heals well, and look forward to talking with you again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Herbert.
Bye-bye.